Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching, excuse me, Daybreak on this 20th day of September 2022. My name is Sam Gituko. I want to introduce the panelists here in studio. I have Kuria Kimani, Member of Parliament for Molo constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
And congratulations. I've not had the chance to congratulate you on retaining your seat.
Thank you very much.
Next to him is Jared Okello, Member of Parliament from Nyando constituency in Kisumu County. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam. And
welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
And we have Nelson Koech, Member of Parliament of Belgut constituency. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not like I don't want to congratulate Jared. He was here a few weeks ago. But thank you, all of you, for making time for us. And it's time that we want to take a look at the stories making headlines this morning. And I want to begin with the global news that you see on the front page of your Daily Nation and The Standard. End of an era. Britain says farewell to Queen Elizabeth II at a historic state funeral attended by world leaders, among them William Ruto, as a country much changed since the Queen's coronation 70 or 69 years ago into its centuries of tradition to honor the only monarch most of its citizens have known. And then on the front page of The Standard, farewell like no other, the British aristocrats showcased the best of their culture and rituals as the world bade goodbye to the longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, with billions watching the ceremony around the world. The power play, color, and honor accorded to the Queen was one of a kind. Let me begin with you, Mheshimiwa Kimani. Your thoughts about the falling of the curtains on the leadership of Queen Elizabeth, 70 years, what a legacy?
Of course, 70 years is such a long time. I think we're so used to seeing Queen Elizabeth, I think, since I was born, and I think since my mother was born. And it's going to be interesting to see how we get used to the new leadership in the UK. But however, I loved the way they showed us their culture and their tradition, the meticulous planning, the near-perfect display of their cultures and traditions. But I'm very tempted to compare with what we have in Kenya, in Africa. And I've seen a lot of, I would call it reverse racism, where all those cultures in the burying, and then I think someone has to be exhumed here and be taken there. And I'm thinking if that happened to any of our African countries, then we'll be terming it as backward and witchcraft, you know. But we watch all this display of their cultures, doing some things that we could not even understand, and we looked at it with you and marveled at it. So I think, again, it's really to appreciate the richness of their culture and the way this country has been, after very many years, still been able to preserve their culture and traditions. And it's a challenge to us, Africans and Kenyans, to relook at the beauty and the richness of our culture and tradition, and not really be washed away in doing things the way these Western countries want us to do them, but really seeing that even our culture is very rich and could be very well displayed out there to the happiness or to the amazement of the rest of the world. Okay.
Interesting perspectives there. Jared, your thoughts about the coming to a close of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II?
Well, it was such a colorful ending. I wish she could see what was happening to her and all the celebratory mood that existed all around the world, and how our TV channels literally stopped everything around Kenya with our bad politics and bad culture to focus on what was happening in Britain. But I think at 94 years, really, there's nothing much you can do but to celebrate somebody's life. And that is why the wailings that commonly accompany funerals here in Kenya and within the African context wasn't seen there, because people were just celebrating her life. But it is strange how they have retained the monarchy for that long period of time. And certain times you fail to understand what is the role of a monarch. What was the role in terms of governance of Queen Elizabeth? We understand that she's the head of state, But again, the government has to consult with her. And I remember, I think a day or two before her death, they just had a new prime minister who had to present her credentials to the head of state. And that was very, very interesting. But again, it could have been very hard on the new prime minister. You get into office, and the first call of duty is to invite world leaders to mourn the death of your monarch. I think it could have been very, very difficult on the part of Madame Truss. I really enjoyed what was happening at the church where biblical verses were being read and people turned quite religious. It was a world event, but how people paid much attention to our Creator was baffling, because many a times we do not pay much credence to the Almighty God and to the Bible. But here is a world event being conducted biblically. And to me, that was a very, very big challenge. But again, it feeds into what is common knowledge, that at the end of the day, you go back to your Creator. Whether you belong to a particular religion or you subscribe to none, it is acceptable all across board that you turn back to the one who made you. Dust will go back to dust. But again, you know, it had also its own drama. Putting all African presidents in a bus. What happened to the element of spreading the risk? You know, when J.F. Kennedy died, was assassinated in 1969, and he was with the vice president, Lyndon Johnson, in that car, it was made as a decision that not the president and the deputy president, or the vice president as they call it, would be in same function, actually, same function at the same time, unless it is unavoidable. But here is a situation where you have all these African presidents bundled in one bus, yet world leaders such as Joe Biden, the Ukrainian first lady, not even Zelensky, the president, all had their own convoys. So whereas everything went well, but I think I would take offense putting all our eggs in one basket.
At a time, it was actually an advisory for visiting delegations and heads of state that there would be a common transport for them, and they chose to take it.
How? Yeah, they chose to take it because I think they didn't have any alternative. But you know, I'm talking about spreading the risk. Why leaders are not allowed to be at the same time, at the same place at the same time, is because if anything would happen, then what is? So if, and I'm not the devil's advocate in this, but I'm assuming that something happened to all the African heads of state in that small bus. You can only imagine how we will be wailing here at home. It will be wailing in South Africa, in Tanzania, in Kenya, and many other places. So certain times African leaders should just say, no, let us accept to have one car, each person. If they really put a case, then I think they would have listened. But because they refused to put a case before those they consider superior to them, well, they were bundled in one bus. I could not have accepted.
Okay, Mheshimiwa Nelson Koech, what are your thoughts about this, and also specific to what Honorable Jared is raising?
First, I think the Queen was given that befitting send-off. She's been a face of a uniting factor in the United Kingdom, being the monarch. Everything actually almost in every part of UK is named after the royal, Her Majesty, the Queen. And at the end of her reign, I'll be very interested to see what King Charles II will perform. The mother did work very well. The Queen did work very well. But I'll take a different opinion on this. First of all, I am not in any way celebrating or even mourning the Queen. Some of us in Kericho today have problem with the Queen, and we've gone to court to challenge some of the things that were done to our people, the atrocities that were meted on the Kalenjin people, the Kipsigis for that matter, who live in Kericho today. And as many were under the media houses were showcasing what was happening in the UK, most of the people in Kericho were actually at pain on what happened to them. We have a case our governor, the last governor who just exited, had sued the British government for what had been done and atrocities. And I heard this thing that, you know, we seem to somehow are celebrating that, you know, our colonizer is dead and we must mourn. What are we mourning? We shouldn't. I don't care. I didn't watch it. I want to watch it. My daughter studies in the UK, and she didn't have a minute to watch what the monarch was doing because it's not our business. We know what has happened. We know the history of this country. We know how many lives were lost. And the monarch at that time was at the throne, you know, when all the atrocities were happening. Look at the racism, even when you go to mourn the Queen. Our president is put in a bus, like my friend Jared was saying, but we are still going to mourn. Anyway, I think what they just did, which is very good for the president, is appear, you know, just because now we want friends from all over the world. This was a good stage to have that feeling that Kenya is represented here, and just for a relationship between this country, Kenya, and the UK. But on a personal level, I didn't mourn the Queen. I won't mourn the Queen.
Well, okay.
Samuel, allow me to add one thing that my brother has alluded to, the case filed in, I think it's a London case, on atrocities. And there is a very good authority to that effect. Mau Mau case went before a court in London, and they were ultimately awarded costs and compensation. So I think it is important that in areas where we were transgressed, we have a recourse. You don't just keep quiet when your people are suffering, and those who meted such atrocities on your people are still alive. So I would encourage, how I wish the governor probably made it back again to help pursue that case. But let me hope that...
he's done with his term.
Yeah.
So the new governor, I'm sure, will take it over.
Yeah, the new governor should push it forward.
Okay.
So that this matter comes to an amicable conclusion.
Okay. And maybe some,
yes,
perhaps this is not just a Mau Mau and a Kalenjin Kipsigis issue. It's also a continental issue because these things were done to countries across Africa. And I think our presidents, when they're in the past, or in the next African Union meeting, they should actually resolve to formally ask for an apology from the British and to ask for compensation in all the countries that these people did these bad things on. But having said that, I'm of a slightly different view on our presidents being put in a bus, because I'm thinking we're talking about over 2,000 dignitaries from across the world, and if everyone brings their motorcade, then it would be a nightmare in terms of it would be a logistical nightmare. And then again, I talked about reverse racism. I think a few years ago, we really celebrated when the immediate former UK Prime Minister Boris was cycling to the office, was cycling to work, and thought, oh, this is really good. We should encourage African, and then they'll actually compare Boris cycling to the office and how our political leaders and our presidents actually move from a short distance from point A to point B. And so for that reason, say, let's not make such a big deal about our presidents being in a bus, and that Russia and US were treated differently. Tukubali tutafute pesa kama wao. Next time we'll be allowed to fly in our limousines.
Very, very interesting perspectives here. And I want us to transition to talk about matters that affect us here at home, and that is the 13th Parliament